Today on the Tearsheet Podcast.
Small businesses in the smaller end of the spectrum have always had, I think, a greater need for more holistic financial advice. So typically, larger businesses have more professional accounting, financial staff, and they look more for different things in their relationship, mostly products and services. Small businesses really, need products and services, and they also need a lot of advice. And so that's been, I think, exacerbated in the crisis. I mean, there's more of a need now than there's ever been among small businesses for advice, financial advice, to help guide them and their businesses through the pandemic.
Welcome to the Tearsheet Podcast. I'm Tearsheet Editor-in-Chief, Zack Miller. Small businesses have a lot to contend with. In addition to the everyday battle around cash flow, many SMBs had to quickly change their business models and payment capabilities during the pandemic. Patrick Smith, the head of small business banking at Santander, joins me on the podcast to talk about Santander's approach to advice. We discuss the bank's evolving products and services aimed at SMBs. Lastly, we delve into the role digital plays in SMB banking in terms of experience and delivery. Patrick Smith is my guest today on the Tearsheet Podcast.
So my name is Patrick Smith. I lead the small business segment for Santander, and we define small business as companies that are startup to up to about $3 million in annual revenue. And I run the P&L, which means that I'm responsible for how we service small businesses in that segment.
Awesome. And can you give us, I guess, a flavor for how big the small business group is at Santander?
Yeah. So it's the small business group has been around, I should say, for a long time. We've been in the business of serving small businesses across our 7-state footprint for a very long time now. And so, we have about 150,000 clients in our small business portfolio.
Awesome. And your background, did you come up through the small business path, or tell us a little bit about how you got here?
Yeah, no, I have a kind of a long background in financial services, retail banking specifically. I joined Santander just over 2 months ago, and I've been around the small business segment in different capacities, but probably most notably, given this environment, from a digital perspective. So I spent a lot of my career doing, digital, running digital product teams, digital strategy, the small business digital segment, product, channel strategy, a whole bunch of different parts of retail banking that supported small business in very different ways over the course of my career.
That's great. And is there something specifically different in this time period? I'm referring to the pandemic that small businesses either need or their behavior is different. Is there something tangibly different given the fact that you've been in the space for so long?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think maybe like lots of other parts of the economy, I think there is just some underlying needs that have been exacerbated, and I think there are some trends that have been accelerated, and I think there are some other needs that have emerged. So, underlying needs, I think small businesses in the smaller end of the spectrum have always had, I think, a greater need for more holistic financial advice. So typically, larger businesses have more professional accounting, financial staff, and they look more for different things in their relationship, mostly products and services. Small businesses really, need products and services, and they also need a lot of advice. And so that's been, I think, exacerbated in the crisis. I mean, there's more of a need now than there's ever been among small businesses for advice, financial advice, to help guide them and their businesses through the pandemic. Obviously, digital has been the place where there's been a grand acceleration in the underlying need. There was a trend already towards small businesses moving more to digital, and as other businesses and consumers have been, but certainly that's been accelerated. And I think just the new thing is I think there's a need, and a lot of small businesses have done a great job of really adapting their model, but it's really to adapt their business to a more virtual, contactless world, and so. Things like contactless payments, as an example, electronic invoicing, have really become, more of a need for more small businesses than ever before.
I got it. So I hear the need for advice. We've heard that from a few other people have been on the podcast, keenly focused on the SMB market. Can you talk about maybe some of the things that Santander is doing, I guess, to address those needs, at least at the advice layer?
Well, yeah, a few things. One is that we just reorganized our support model across our branch network for small businesses, and we're introducing a new job family, senior relationship banker job family that's focused on small businesses. And these folks have been deeply trained. They receive 9 days worth of intensive training, along with a bunch of follow-on training in how to service small businesses. And so we've gotten really focused on making sure that we have professionals in our branch network across our footprint that are equipped and enabled to be able to service and support small businesses. The other thing is that we're investing more and more in digital. And so over the course of the next year, we're enhancing quite substantially our investment in digital to be able to support small businesses. And I think the third thing is, we've been actively participating in the Paycheck Protection Program. We delivered about 12,100 loans to small businesses, and we are gearing up to be supportive in the next round of funding that we're hoping becomes available to small businesses to continue to support them, during a really troubling time for many of our small business clients.
Totally. So Patrick, can we talk about the digital layer then?
Yeah.
What type of experience do SMB clients at Santander get? What products and services have you rolled out or are you working on that are helping to help people through this tough time?
So, I think what small businesses have always looked for in digital experiences is not necessarily a bunch of bells and whistles. It's really, they just want a really intuitive, easy to use experience. And so we've invested it probably disproportionately, I would say, in things like that. And so we made sure that our core digital banking experience, both our application as well as our online banking experience, is really easy and intuitive, because the last thing you want to do if you're a small business having to worry about all the things you're worried about in this environment is just keeping the lights on and supporting your employees and keeping the business running and maintaining solvency. Is worrying about sort of navigating your bank's digital channels. And so we've actually spent more time focused on kind of the core experiences. The other things are really about the things we talked about earlier, which is making sure that things like the ability to actually make payments electronically, receive payments digitally are things that we have available to all of our clients and our website. And so we've really focused a lot on those things as ways to make sure our small businesses have the tools that they need from a financial services and banking perspective to help them through this time.
You mentioned before that one of the things you're rolling out was this new job family of the what did you call it? The banker role?
The senior relationship bankers.
Senior relationship banker. Is that? Can you? I guess I wanted to ask about that and its relationship to the digital experience. Is that something that you can encounter digitally, or is that primarily a branch experience?
That's principally a branch experience, and the way we think about it is that while small businesses will continue, like all other businesses, to adapt their businesses and their business models to a digital age, we don't see the need for advice, for direction, for guidance, particularly among small businesses, going away anytime soon. And so what we want to do is offer both those avenues. And so banks, small businesses can certainly engage with us digitally and through our digital properties and experiences. But we want to make sure with the small business relationship bankers that, with the senior relationship bankers, that small businesses have someone that they can turn to when they want to pick up the phone, or they want to, in a very sort of responsible, socially distanced way, to be able to sort of talk to someone, and that they'll have that at their disposal as well.
That makes sense. What about partnerships with fintech? Does Santander take like an ecosystem model where you have products and services that you guys deliver, sort of core stuff, and partner? Do you partner with outside firms to deliver things that maybe are outside of that core? We
do. We have a partnership with ADP, for example, to provide payroll services, and we partner with Fiserv as well in different areas, like for our merchant services offering. So we do believe in partnerships with tech companies, both large and small tech companies, and we are constantly in conversations with tech companies about sort of emerging capabilities, existing capabilities that we think might be complementary to what we're doing. And so we are our perspective is that the tech is always going to be an ecosystem where you should look to be able to source the best capabilities, through the best partners. And so there's a certain set of things that we think we're equipped to do very well. And other things where it just makes sense for us to look at partners. And so we continually evaluate, sort of partner offerings and capabilities to figure out how they fit into our approach to serving small businesses.
So I don't know if you saw, but a couple of weeks ago, Google announced multiple relationships with some big banks and some small banks to offer a consumer business account. And we've had a few guests on the show talk about the bank's evolving role. It sounds like Santander is you are very much focused on providing value and advice, on the front lines. Could you imagine entering that type of relationship? I think the fear for a lot of banks is like, we just don't want to be piped. We want to own the relationship. Maybe you can just address that tension do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. I know what you mean. I think, I think it depends on a few things. I think it depends on for banks, it depends on your strategy and what your approach is. I mean, there are some folks that have switched to kind of a banking as a service model. That's not our model. We think we have, lots of points of value to offer our clients in our relationships that we believe very strongly in, and then we've had good reception from our clients too. And so we can certainly envision and we see in the marketplace there's going to be more activity among big tech and fintechs around creating partnerships that sort of look and feel differently than banking services have been presented before. Our focus is on adapting our model so that we can continue to offer the best digital capabilities, the best advice and guidance, the best solutions and support for our clients in many different ways. And we can enable capabilities in a whole bunch of different ways through partnerships, through alliances. But we think that, the breadth of our proposition, including our ability to actually be in our communities, which I think is sometimes gets overlooked. And I think, when we talk about digital, when you talk about small business, the idea of being in the communities and being accessible and being involved in their businesses and with them more directly, as opposed to the anonymity of like just a digital experience, I think matters, and that's gonna continue to be a big part of our model. That's why we introduce the relationship bankers. That's why we're committed to being like the bank that provides really sort of personalized, individualized. And when the time sort of happens or occurs again, face-to-face service is appropriate for our clients, complemented by digital offerings and the best of digital capabilities that are in the marketplace. So we think that combination is what's going to be required by small businesses for some time to come.
Right, I totally agree with you. I think consumer banking may be a different story, but I think on the business banking side, I totally agree with you. And it sounds like you're playing to your strengths as with the physical footprint, layering on that digital experience. So do you view, we've had a few guests on the show, entrepreneurs that are launching, digital only or branchless, business banks. How would you look at those type of? They're obviously tiny compared to a Santander, but we have seen on the consumer side some of these new brands come in and be able to grow accounts very quickly. It remains to be seen if they're actually primary accounts, but. Do you see the growing competition coming from digital only players?
Yeah. It's. I mean, we certainly see more of that occurring, and how that'll play out. I think we'll have to see. But I think we're there's going to be a lot of competition going forward from both bank and non-bank players, tech and non-tech alike in terms of non-bank players. I mean, there've been a lot of non-banks that are non-tech that have been active in lending, for example, for a long time. And so I think for us, it's just like that's the increased competition and heightened competition. That's the new normal for this space. And so we're perfectly aware of that. But for us, I think it's less about trying to react to every single sort of emerging sort of business that comes up, than having a clear sense of what you are trying to do, and who you are trying to be, and what purpose you're trying to or what purpose you're trying to serve in the life cycle of small businesses. And so far, that's pretty clear for us. We want to make sure that we're able to offer a holistic set of advice. We want to make sure that we can offer a full suite of products for our clients. We want to make sure that we offer omnichannel experiences for our clients. And so we think that there's a breadth to what we're doing that's going to be the right and compelling model for small businesses.
Got it. Well, let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned the dreaded word omnichannel. It's not a dreaded word, obviously, but can you talk about, I guess, how what your strategy is? It was a buzzword a few years ago. I think a lot of banks have moved and done a good job of managing multiple channels and the experiences across them. Can you talk about Santander's, I guess, evolution there?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. It is a buzzwordy thing, right? That's maybe sort of, sort of had its time. But the underlying, I think, sort of truth in it is real, which is that, like, there's just, I don't see like a version of this where in the intermediate term, for sure, that, that there won't be a need for small businesses to be able to pick up the phone and call someone, for them to want and seek in-person advice, and obviously for them to continue to sort of have the convenience of digital experiences. And so, for us, like, it's a very simple way of saying, look, we're going to be there to serve our clients in every way that they want us to be there for them. And we've invested across the board in all those experiences. Like I said, we've invested more and are investing as much as we ever have in our digital experiences. We continue to focus on making sure that we obviously have like good phone-based service where that matters and it's convenient for small businesses. And then, again, like, having branches is still important, and we continue to invest in our branch network in general, and in our small business branch capabilities in specific.
Do you feel, I really like the concept that you brought about staying focused on, and playing to your strengths and not trying to compete with every new competitor that shows up or every new modality. Do you feel that pull, though, as running the SMB group, to maybe venture into areas that haven't necessarily been your strength? How do you decide what to venture into and what not to?
I think to me, like, it's, you don't, sort of go out and evaluate every capability and then decide what your strategy is. You decide what your strategy is, and then you evaluate all these capabilities through the lens of your strategy. And so that's what we do. We, like I said, we're constantly having, I probably over the last week had like 4 or 5 conversations with different, folks who are servicing small business in different ways. And so, what we try to do is to see, are there things out there that we think are better for us to be able to access through partners, or for us to be able to build ourselves? But are there ideas out there, are there capabilities out there, are business models out there that fit our strategy? And so, we focus more in that, because I think you can easily give yourself whiplash, sort of worrying about every single thing that comes up. And I think honestly what it does is sometimes is, if you look at it strictly from like this capability and that capability and this business and that, what you can do is dilute your focus on what really matters. And for us, we're clear-minded that, small businesses need really clear, simple, straightforward, fair advice, experiences, support. And so we don't want to, sort of get so sophisticated and, sort of looking at a bunch of features and capabilities that we just lose sight of, like, small businesses, really are want to focus on running the business. And what we need to do is be able to, in a very straightforward, intuitive way, be able to equip them to do that.
Got it. One of the things, and I don't remember the data, I don't have it in front of me, but I know that many small businesses, particularly in the early days, kind of run themselves as sole proprietorships. They commingle their business funds with their personal funds. Is there sort of a journey within Santander where somebody can come, I guess, start as a consumer bank and move over to the small business bank side? Is that even a discussion inside?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. We know that exactly what you said happens with, earlier stage small businesses, sole proprietors, people who are sort of DBAs, doing business as a individuals doing business under a certain business name. Those are very much, commingled personal sort of business relationships. So we're able to serve them, and we obviously understand that they have a distinct set of needs. But also, we are, as small businesses grow, our objective has always been to have the capabilities so that we can grow with them. And so as they move from fairly straightforward, needs to, more complex needs, we have a, graduated set of services and offerings on the cash management side, lending, deposits that help support their growth all the way up through, frankly, the largest. You can start with us as a start of a small business, and then as you sort of grow to be like the largest corporation, we have the ability to be able to serve you.
Got it. And I have one last question, and that's We're practically at the end of the year now. Like, what are your biggest priorities in the SMB group looking out to 2021?
So, I think, again, maybe this, to reiterate something I said earlier, is that we want to make sure that, foremost, it looks like there's this kind of gathering momentum in Congress to pass a next round of stimulus, including another round of Paycheck Protection Program funding. And so we are geared up and prepared to support our small business clients and being able to access those funds as soon as they're available. So that's number one, and we'll continue to do that for as long as those programs are made available. Two is that we'll continue to focus on making sure that we've helped our clients to be able to adapt for this particular time, however long it lasts. And so all the things we talked about earlier with being able to do contactless payments and electronic invoicing and electronic payment receipt, all those things we want to make sure that we have support there, and we're going to do that in part by continuing to invest in digital. As I mentioned, we're investing, over the course of next year as much as we ever have in small business digital, and we'll continue to do that. And I think the last thing is that we want to make sure we continue to partner, not just with, we were talking about fintechs and big techs, but also with, community organizations, with CDFIs, to make sure that we have provided as much support through as many vehicles as we can for our small business clients.
Patrick, great to talk to you today. Thanks for joining us on the Tearsheet Podcast.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.